Hello, superhumans! Did you know you already possess extraordinary superhuman abilities, including the power to remote view and access hidden information? Well, you do, and these gifts are natural to all of us. But they're often clouded by trapped emotional energy, ancestral patterns, or energetic blocks. The clearer and more healed your energy field becomes, the stronger and clearer your abilities will begin to flow. And in these videos, we're trying to inspire you to awaken your own superhuman powers. And you can begin clearing your own energy blocks by either booking a private session with me or using the step-by-step multi-dimensional energy healing map, mdhmap.com, and those links will be in the description box below. For now, please know that all these things are available to beginners and even pros. So you don't have to be an expert. You already got this. Come along on this journey and leave us a comment. So if you will, let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Christina and I are here to do an associated remote view on David Paulides talking about the origins of Bigfoot, and he was on the Joe Rogan Experience. And I will leave the link for that full video in the description box. So we're going to take a look at what he says, and then we're going to associate remote view. I can't talk. Associate remote view, and find out if that sort of jives with what we're getting energetically. And again, sometimes Christina and I, we don't always kind of pick up the same thing, but most of the time we do. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all lands. All right, Christina, are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am. Let's do it.
All right. Let me pull him up. And here we go. This is going to start out. It's going to run for a little bit. We'll pause and discuss.
My wife is divorcing me. I now have only 50% custody. I have 50% of my life open to do whatever I want. They came at me again. I said, okay, I'm going to shorten it down to from what took 5 years to 5 minutes. Tennessee, Great Smoky Mountain National Park. There was a man there named Scott Carpenter. Scott, rest his soul, has since died, but he took me into an area in the park. And he said, Dave, this is the part where I've had all kinds of evidence.
What kind of evidence?
Footprints, hair.
Hair. So has he ever had the hair analyzed? Okay.
So we start talking about it. How can we get a good sample of hair? So I said, with bear, they take bear samples and DNA samples from bear all the time. Let's try this. Let's take some packaging tape, wrap it inside out on the outside of a tree. Put something at the fork of the tree, some kind of food, whatever, honey, something. If they lean up against the tree, it's going to pull the hair out, which we need the follicle for the DNA. Let's see if that works. She says, brilliant. We did it. It worked. In that area, we had tracks. Now, just so you know, and everyone else knows, there's hair and fiber experts in the world, and they testify in Superior Court all the time. Like out in the lobby, you have all these different kinds of animals. If we took a hair from one animal and gave it to a hair and fiber expert, he could tell you within 2 minutes what animal that came from, because every hair looks different. So we took those hairs, went to a hair and fiber expert, and they said, well, where'd you get that? And I go, what do you mean? We've never seen that hair before. It's not classified. It doesn't exist. Okay. So that means we're onto something. So then I took...
Does it have follicle? Can they do a DNA on it, or is it just hair?
They did.
Okay.
It did. So I called I was living in California at the time. I called the University of California, Davis, the biggest animal lab in the world. And they said, what do you got? And I explained it. They said, Bigfoot, we're not touching it. We don't want anything to do with it. I went to University of Texas, UC Davis. I went to like 6 or 7. No one would touch it.
just want to stop it right here because that blows me away that today in the 21st century that people are not wanting to touch this. I mean, if you are a true scientist, don't you like, okay, let's rule it out. Let's figure it out.
Well, yeah, you would think you would want to explore, you know? If you're a scientist, you want to learn stuff, you would think.
But then they don't want to touch it, you know? Right. So I'm pretty curious why that is.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a subject for another video.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure that's a big rabbit hole. Usually it probably has to do with egos, but anyway,
yeah.
Let's go on.
But then I found a woman that testified in the courts here in Texas as a DNA expert. I call her up. Her name is Melba Ketchum. Dr. Ketchum, I have this sample here. Would you be willing to do DNA analysis on it? Absolutely. It's going to cost you so many thousands of dollars. I go, no problem. We've got somebody who's going to pay. So she goes, okay, let's do one better. Dave, send me the sample. Let me look at it first. I'm going to give it to my hair and fiber expert. They look at it. Hair and fiber expert says, it's nothing we've ever seen. So that's good. So she goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. Can you get any more samples? I said, I have an idea. Let me try. So I go on coast to coast. And I laid it out. I said, hey, we have these samples. We're looking for hair samples. Don't bullshit us because we'll know right away. Send us hair samples with everything attached, and we're going to send it to a lab. You don't have to pay the bill. We got 125 valid samples that were not deer, antelope, bear, whatever. She goes through the DNA analysis on it. I think it cost us $400,000 at the end of the day. It's a lot less expensive now. And so hair will give you mitochondrial DNA from the maternal side, but it won't give you fraternal DNA from the father's side. That you need nuclear DNA, blood, tissue, saliva. And we got some of those. Son of a gun. At the end of the day, the DNA comes back 12 to 15,000 years to the Middle East on the mother's side. Father's side, it doesn't exist in GenBank. 352 billion base pairs of DNA does not exist.
All right, let's stop there for a second. So we'll get into what his theory is here in a second about what the father is and where we are. So I think when we associate remote view, where are you landing with the female as being the going back generations? I guess that's the first one that we need to look at. All right, for the audience, you didn't see us pause that video, but we wanted to tune in and get a feel of what David Paulides was saying about the mitochondrial DNA, which is the female line, and not the Y DNA. And the Y DNA is coming up. But right now, we just want to focus on the mitochondrial. And Christina, do you want to share what you get for the mitochondrial female line?
I'm getting that what they're saying for the female line for the DNA is absolutely correct. Like they're on target.
Yeah, so that it has its roots in the Middle East.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it hit for me too. All right, let's continue on.
The father's DNA does not exist. GenBank says it's impossible. Since that time, other people have come forward and said, hey, you know, on the elongated skulls, we've had the same problem. We can't find the fraternal DNA just like you.
All right, let's stop it right there. We're going to pause because we're going to remote view this, but you won't see the pause. We're sparing you that long lag time. So hold. All right. So when we looked at the Peruvian elongated skulls, the Y DNA, that's so interesting that David Paulides would say the DNA doesn't exist here on the planet. So we're definitely getting off-worlder involvement, right?
Right.
And so, but when we're asking, is it the same DNA as what they're finding in Bigfoot? And we've kind of got a yes, no. You want to maybe add to that what you think it might be?
So I think they share an ancestor. I don't think it's 100% the same. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
Yes, but no. So yeah.
Yeah. Talk about not being fully committed to an answer, but that's what we get.
Yeah. It's like, well, yes, but no.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's continue on.
That's a guy named L.A. Marzulli that was doing the research there. And then Ron Moorhead, who's doing other DNA studies on elongated skulls in South America, said the same thing. That's odd, Dave. So the maternal, we understand. The fraternal, we don't. And the DNA, they did a paper about it. It's online. I've had a lot of people say, oh, you know what, that's BS, it's bad. But nobody else has ever done a test. And I could get you more hair within 2 weeks if we wanted to. No.
Yeah, I actually want to say something to that. When David Paulides is, saying to Joe Rogan, other people are, quote, debunking the DNA, but they're not substantiated with any studies. It just sort of goes against their belief system, ergo, it's BS. Versus saying, well, I have a study with my own samples of DNA to compare to that. And we're looking at your DNA studies and seeing something different than what you're saying. They're not even looking at it. They're just outlying, saying, no, not true. It's like, what do they call that? Confirmational bias?
Yeah, it's like they're not even wanting to explore it. You would think if you're really a scientist, again, you would be interested in perhaps really doing a study and really truly comparing, having another sample, going through it. You would think you would want to know that.
Sure, right? Let's see what else he says.
Nobody wants to test it.
I'll test it. What do we have to do?
The truth is,
Jamie, you ready to go? Let's go. Let's get some tape. The truth is,
it'll all come back the same. And I believe that the researchers who have done it, they've gotten the same results.
And so if you say that on the fraternal side, it doesn't exist, on the maternal side, it's showing thousands. Explain that again.
So like I'm Greek. Mm-hmm. So they could chase my DNA backwards through time to, I don't know, Greece.
Right.
10, 15,000 years ago. Well, they were able to chase the maternal side back to the Middle East 12 to 15,000 years.
And what did they say it was?
That's all they said. But what they're saying is that, and a lot of people have picked up on this, well, that has a lot of religious connotations to it.
Why does it have religious connotations to it?
Because of the Middle East 12 to 15,000 years.
Right. But why is that religious? It's a part of the world 12 to 15,000 years ago. What gives it religious connotations other than the fact that that's the origins of a lot of religions?
That's it.
Right, but it's also humans and different animals live there. Like there's probably deer down there that weren't religious at all. Their DNA tracks back to that too. Specific results she reported. She claimed 111 samples from 34 North American sites produced two patterns: human mtDNA and unusual or novel nuclear sequences that supposedly did not match known animals. Her interpretation was that about 15,000 years ago, an unknown hominin male population interbred with modern human females, leading to a hybrid lineage whose descendants are today's supposed Sasquatch. How and where it was published. Study did not appear in a normal, established, peer-reviewed journal. Instead, it was put into an obscure outlet called De Novo Scientific Journal, which Ketchum herself effectively controlled to get the paper online. Science reporters and skeptics noted the absence of transparent peer review, the paywall for self-published paper, and the lack of independent labs reproducing her findings. But did independent labs try to reproduce her findings? That's the question. Scientific criticism. Geneticists and forensic biologists who examined the data and methodology have repeatedly pointed to contamination and poor lab practice as the most likely explanation for her hybrid sequences. Analysis noted that the mtDNA, being 100% modern human, is exactly what you would expect from contaminated or human origin samples, and that the odd nuclear sequences are consistent with mixed DNA, sequencing errors, or low quality data, not a new species. Current status of her DNA claims. No major genetics lab or independent research group has replicated Ketchum's results or confirmed a novel hominin genome corresponding to Bigfoot. In mainstream science, her study is treated as an example of flawed junk science, interesting to Bigfoot enthusiasts, but offering no accepted evidence that Sasquatch exists. But here's the thing. Did anybody else try to test those things?
No. And let me explain that argument they just used.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking to a bunch of idiots. So when they say
They are?
it's contaminated,
Right.
so let's say I contaminated the sample.
Right.
Well, Joe, my dad was Russian.
Mm-hmm.
The contaminated sample would show on the fraternal side Russian.
Right.
It wouldn't show nothing.
Right.
That's why that.
See, that's where he has the point that sort of takes those naysayers, their argument against it. I mean, first of all, if they know anything about Dr. Melba Ketchum and how she ran her lab, they would find that she's extremely pristine and accurate. And in fact, up until this Bigfoot came in, she was one of the go-to people for DNA analysis that was used in the judicial system. So up until then, she was just pristine and awesome. She goes into this, and then, they start, destroying her name, kind of like Royal Rife and, those other people who are sort of outside the box and proving, hey, we have this answer, even though it doesn't match with what your belief says, right?
Right.
So when I really feel like right there in that one moment with David Paulides, when he says, my father's Russian, it would show the DNA,
Right.
has its roots in Russia, not that known. So, yeah, I totally get that. Do you want to add to that before I continue playing?
I guess I'm not surprised that no lab would touch it. But I already think we know the answer to this question. I think we already know that there's some file somewhere. They've already figured this out. They know the answer. They just don't want to tell it. So
And my question is, why do they not want to? I mean, knowing that, what would it do? Would it disrupt the industry, like the wood industry, lumber industry? Will it destroy that? Because now you got to have a protected species. What is the reason? I mean, you would think that if you have this going on and potential abductions going on because of this creature, I don't think it's like Harry and the Hendersons.
right.
I'm sure there's good ones and bad ones, just
Right.
like there's good and bad people.
Right.
So why would you not to have caution?
I just feel like we already have the answer and we just aren't willing to say what it is. And we aren't willing to give that information. I just feel like it goes toward, how we're starting to learn more about, UFOs, UAPs, all that stuff. I just feel like when we talk about disclosure, it's not just aliens that we're going to
So do you feel like the powers that be that control this narrative are doing so because they feel like the only information they can disseminate amongst the population are narratives that they know they can control? And so therefore, if you have a population of Bigfoot, how are you going to control that?
Right.
Right? So why would you let that out? I mean, why would you want, as the person who's in control of the information, let people know that there are things you have no control over? How would that affect us? I mean, I have questions. I have so many questions with this. But before we go further, let me run this and then we'll finish up.
That argument makes no sense.
Well, I'm not a geneticist, so I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you could say, oh, this is why, if you had someone who understood DNA and contamination and the whole process, they could maybe explain it in a better way. So the idea that humans interbred with things is not a new idea. I read something recently. I actually watched a YouTube video and then read an article. I think we talked about this. Pretty sure we did, where they believe that Neanderthal, they used to think that Neanderthal was a subspecies, like a different version of humans, and that they interbred with us. There's a group of people that now are speculating that Neanderthal was the result of humans breeding with another ancient hominid, and that created Neanderthal. So it's not that we interbred with Neanderthal, but that humans actually created Neanderthal by breeding with this other hominid.
So there's only one country in the world that ever took this topic seriously.
Which country?
Russia. They took their science academy and took the 5 top scientists. This happened 40 years ago. And they started studying what was called Almasty, the same as our Bigfoot.
Okay.
And I'm not bullshitting you. This is 100% true. 2 of their scientists came to the U.S. I met one of them at a conference in Colorado 7 or 8 years ago. And I walk into the room and he's holding both of my books as I walk in. And he says, Dave, you're the only guy to tell the truth out of everybody out here. What you're saying about the DNA, what you're saying about the lineage is 100% fact. It's what we found. And we know that they aren't any kind of ape or gorilla. It's a human hybrid.
So let me stop it right there. Oh my goodness. And that's exactly what you got when we just tuned in. You said it's a hybrid. Mm-hmm. What he just said.
Yeah.
So anyway, I sort of got that too, that it is a hybrid, but it feels off-worlder to me. Just like is it the Paracas skulls? They feel, off-worlder DNA, that there's off-worlder in this mix somehow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting as that. Now, before we go further, what's your take on all this?
Well, I think that you're right on track. I feel like, there is an off-worlder DNA component to it, and it is a hybrid. And what I don't understand is why we need to keep this a secret. Like, that's what I don't understand. It's like, why?
Yeah, why indeed? I mean, other than what we just talked about. Right. I don't have an answer for that. It will take a little bit more remote viewing for that. So maybe we should ask the why for another video.
Right.
So, final takeaway?
I think that Bigfoot is real, and that Bigfoot is a hybrid of off-worlder and human DNA.
Yeah, and that totally tracks. Now, some religious people will say that in the Bible they talk about the Nephilim, which is where God descended and bred with women and made these giants. And to some degree, that feels like it's got some truth to it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we fully understand what that truth is. I feel like it's kind of like you got part of the story and you're trying to understand it, and when you haven't traveled 5 miles from where you were born and can't spell,
you don't have a written language and you're passing this down through oral history, it sort of makes sense why, you don't understand it. So you're trying to put it in a context that would make sense to you in order to pass it down. So I feel like there's some basis in truth to the story, but I feel like it's misunderstood.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense to you, what I'm saying.
It makes perfect sense to me. I feel like you're spot on. It was something they couldn't quite understand, but they tried to understand it. And so they tried to explain it the best they can.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we're going to leave it there for now. Everybody, please hit the subscribe button and the like button and share, because our message, Christina, is to let everybody know that they are superhuman. And so all you got to do is start working at it, start trying, and, get your energy cleaned up. The more you get your energy cleaned up, the easier this information comes in, the more accurate you'll get. Not that we're 100% accurate, but wouldn't that be cool? But we've been pretty good lately.
Yeah.
All right. Again, thanks for watching. Bye for now.